What's the first thing we always do? Date and time and...
Date and time, Thursday,
Yeah,
2 o'clock,
yeah.
and it's Crackerjack.
No, Crackers, don't worry, World War III is coming. What's the date today?
I don't know, what is the date? It's February some. It's in
February
mid
February the 20th.
20th, okay.
February the 20th. I wanted to say February the 20th of July. No, just February the 20th. And what year is this?
2025.
Yeah, 2025.
I hope it's not 1938.
And what do you... let me just check this. This is just... Yeah, all right. Yeah, so 2025, and what's the climate like? What's the temperature?
Well, it's cold, but it's no longer freezing. I think it's about about 6 degrees centigrade with a mild wind.
I'll raise you by 2 degrees, but with the mild wind, it'll take you down to 6.
Well, yeah, the wind chill brings it down to 6. So it feels like 6. It might be 8. If there was no wind, it might be 8.
Well, what do you reckon? Has spring sprung, or we still waiting for spring to spring?
No,
it hasn't sprung.
We look at the trees; they're bare. There's no foliage yet.
Now, 2 reasons why we ain't at our usual spot is, one, it's a bit moisture and rainy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bit wet.
Don't worry about that, it's still recorded. It's a bit, and the other thing is that if we turn it around the other way, which I wanted to do in order for everybody to see the background, then we'll end up being too dark.
Too dark, yeah.
You know, and 2 men wearing black.
Wearing black, yeah.
And then extra dark again, you know. All right, so we didn't have a meet-up at Christmas, did we?
No. Well, I wasn't in London, but also it was very cold. Very cold. I mean, yeah, really, it was very difficult. It was a very difficult time. Very, very cold winter, and I was actually quite ill.
Wow, what happened? Can you tell us what happened? You don't have to.
Well, I went to see my friend in Bristol for 2 weeks. As soon as I got there, and he got it after 2 days.
Wow.
And it was like this cold type of flu, type of COVID, whatever mixture going around. It was very heavy, and everyone had it. And it was a lot of congestion. It's hard to breathe. It was bringing up lots of phlegm all the non-stop. So I had a headache. I felt tired. It was just constant coughing and congestion and headaches, and it was awful. I was very tired, which isn't like me usually.
Well, I did hear that there was about 4 different things going about.
Yes, it was.
One was the projectile vomiting norovirus.
Another of my friends in London has that. But he didn't have. He had diarrhea.
It?
No, he didn't have projectile.
It's both ends.
Got diarrhea.
It's both ends.
No, he got it on one end, and the other one. We're getting X-rated now.
Well, no, it's life and death.
No, it's life and death. Yeah, no,
you survived,
it's very serious.
You survived the flu.
No, it's very
Plus, I heard there was COVID was about as well.
Yes, and the hospitals were overwhelmed. It was a very, very bad period. But maybe it's because, you see, the thing is, people are having to get used to working their immune systems again, because they were kind of locked away for two years, which they had to be, keeping away from each other. But now as they're coming together, all these illnesses which have always been there, although COVID it's not around in the deadly form it was that time, like a kind of Spanish flu type form. But people have also, their immune systems have got to get used to all the other milder sorts of colds and flus and the milder sorts of.
Do you know they use this
going
word
around.
called superbug? Do you believe in this superbug phenomenon?
I don't know what's a superbug.
These bugs are getting, some are immune to the injections and stuff. You know, the antibiotics.
Yeah, like the marga, like the red hat type
Marga.
bugs. Marga. Yeah, they're
Pretty hard to kill them, isn't it?
They're very hard. Yeah, like cockroaches. they don't.
I know, he's still suffering from earache, innit? Anyway, we would, So there was about 4 sets of illness. Plus we had, and we still have one for. We still have. All right, bird flu. You tell me about bird flu. What have you heard about it?
Well, I haven't heard very much. Nothing much been said. There was a panic a little while ago, but I think the media have got other things to deal with. It's not. It doesn't seem to. It's there, but it doesn't. It's either not being covered or it isn't that serious. I don't know which, but I don't hear H1N1. I don't hear much about it.
Yes.
But like everything else, it's there.
Actually, yes, I've been following it up. It is serious, and they've had to. There is actually, is it DEFRA?
Definitely. Yeah.
They've actually got a map which tells you which part of the country is actually which is highly infected.
So where is it then?
It's up in the Shires and a bit further up north, right? Like Yorkshire-ish, a little bit where the farmers. Right. Oh, have you heard about the price of eggs in America?
No.
All right, it's twice the price, and they find it very hard.
Wow. So the inflation has already started.
No, they've got bird flu.
Bird flu. Wow. Yeah. Bird flu. Well. Anyway, I suppose now they're run by the MAGA maniacs and John F. Kennedy, and that they'll just deny that it's happening. They'll say there's no such thing. I suppose. Or maybe they can blame the birds themselves for not doing enough exercise.
Or maybe you can blame the leader of Ukraine.
Blame the leader. Well, you could say it's diversity amongst the birds. Maybe you could, maybe the transgender parrots or something. From transgender parrots from Brazil.
All right. Actually, let me give you a bit of commend you here.
Having illicit sex with American eagles and producing mixed offspring.
let me give you a bit of credit.
Eagle arrowed.
Let me give you a bit of credit here before we get into the main thrust and main subject. The news at the moment is really terrible. So I tune into Time Radio.
And ridiculous. It's terrible and ridiculous in equal measure.
So I only take it in small doses.
Of course.
But funny enough, I can take it in larger doses when it comes from Time Radio, believe it or not. Because
Time Radio is quite good, except for sometimes when they have some right-wing maniacs on. But most of the time, they're very rational, and most of the time it's not necessarily left-wing, but the liberalism. It's very good. It's all what the BBC used to be like.
Yes, and I'm not stressed out.
No.
Listening to lies and propaganda.
No.
But so, what was the last thing you heard Trump said or did say, or what he?
Oh, I heard on Time. Yeah, it was on Time Radio. I heard his speech against his tirade against Zelensky. His bollocks. And then I heard some of his tirade against and the reason he cut all the diversity project, and he raised a whole list of bigotry, but it was only bigotry. It didn't also make sense. It was just it was bigotry, but without. There was no studying, because even some of the big words he was using, and I know he doesn't usually use them, so he was reading it, but he was all I knew is that he was against this group of things, which he was against, and he
Does he know why he's against them?
That's it. I don't think so. I don't think he knows why. You know, if I went to Broadmoor and I spoke to people there, they can tell me what they've done, but I don't think they could tell me why they did it. They in fact, and after a while of asking them, I'd start being a bit scared that they might start disliking me, and I might want to leave because, you know, they don't want to be asked awkward questions about why, because it's going to hurt their heads.
Or maybe they might give you an answer like, "Oh, that's why, because people keep on asking me these questions.
Because
why?"
Of the question, people like you, and whose side are you on? And they might start to think I hate them.
But I tell you, all right. So
It's called a psychosis. It's called psychosis. It means not being able to understand logic and reality and rationalise and humanise and empathise, and it means not being able to communicate outside of your own immediate wishes. Like I mean, you can't say you can't talk about psychosis when you talk about cats and dogs and lions and tigers.
being eaten by people.
Yes, I mean, a lion will eat a person, and there isn't a reason for it because they see the person, they think that's meat. But you see, when it comes to human beings, there's lots of rules. I mean, cannibalism is one of the main rules. So obviously, if a person has cannibalistic tendencies, even if they don't fulfill them, it's very odd and it's very strange. So we use the science of psychology, the modern science of psychology and philosophy and things like that, to try to understand something that's outside our set norms that we live by in civilization. And so we call this the mentally ill or immoral or all sorts of things that are outside of these very basic norms.
Right. Now these are the basic norms.
These premises.
And if you remember in the podcast before, I said you've got to unlearn what you've learned. And I tell you where that really applies.
But if you're Donald Trump, if you haven't learned in the first place, you don't have to unlearn anything.
No.
Because you haven't learned it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this
you
is
can
where
just say things.
So this is where I have unlearned things, so therefore I can see him.
So you can understand, how a cat or a dog thinks by unlearning.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. But remember, it's funny because he's not following the rules. Everyone's like stunned, shocked, right? Because he's not following the rules. But I remember saying, and I always repeat that, you've got to unlearn what you've learned, because there are some clever things about him, right? But at the moment, have you heard the response?
Well, if you look at if you look at any of the wildlife films, you have to admire that how a tiger or a lion stalks its prey, or how an eagle stalks its prey. It's very clever, but you don't. You can't anthropomorphize that the cleverness of an eagle or a lion stalking its prey, because it's doing what it does, and it's clever at what it does, but it only does that. It doesn't. It can't explain to you the way it's hunting and why it hunts the way it hunts. It can't explain that. Or can it hunt another way? Well, it can't hunt another way.
It's so innate and
It's
so
innate.
natural.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I've said in the other podcast. That's why I
And I
like.
think that applies. I can say something now unusual, that it applies to maybe the more gangster side of the gangsterish human beings who don't have morals, but they're smart. They're street smart.
It's like the law of the jungle.
Yeah.
To talk about animals and hunting, the law.
My stepfather, right? He was not very moral, you know. He was an alcoholic and quite brutal, right? But I remember him talking some strange things. Was in his room when I visited him when he was sober, and some of the things he told me, it's surprising no one else talked about at that time, because I didn't meet anyone else like that. Everyone else was more civilized, but he talked to me that he'd been about he was street fighting in Dublin in the early 1950s, right? And he told me how when you want to when he said never forget about all that boxing stuff and boxing and learning rules and everything. He said that doesn't work in a real street fight. He said you basically you make friends with somebody, right? You're pretending that, right? And you get them to look down about their shoes, and then you hit them when they're not expecting it, and that's how you win. Or you put coins between your coins. Well, you get some coins, and they act as a knuckle duster, a very cheap knuckle duster. Because knuckle dusters cost money, you've got to go and buy them and that. But if you use coins, it acts in the same way. And it horrified me, and I knew instinctively inside me that this was wrong and bad, and I was never going to follow this. But I listened to him, and I thought, how outside of all the society, or everything I learned at school, everything the rest of my family talks about, how unusual that is. And that's the sort of gangsterish way of thinking. So when you hear the word smart, it is smart.
Yeah. But you see,
It's smart, but Al Capone was smart.
But you see what you just said to me, what you've been taught and how you know things, it's not your way of thinking. That's why I use the term.
No.
You've got to unlearn what you've learned.
Unlearned.
But let me tell you something, what I find clever.
Well, that was a little bit of unlearning. Although I didn't ask for it, I kind of got it. But it was a little bit of an insight into that.
Yeah, and there's lots of things actually happening in today's world which does not go against. You see, that's what education is all about. All the education system does is it teaches us that we're supposed to handle ourselves in certain ways. And
I'll give you an example. I think you're a perfect example, right? Of many of the more civilized world leaders are thinking that, well, he doesn't really mean what he says, or
you mean Donald Trump?
Yeah, and the people around him.
Yeah.
All the people around Vance and Moscow.
Yeah.
These people, they're not really insane. They're not really brutal. They're not really immoral.
Yeah.
They're not really crook. You just have to give them some space and draw them in and things like that. But in actual fact, they're dealing with a street fighter. And the only people who really understand street fighters are street fighters. So maybe if they borrow some street fighter tactics, they can defeat him.
That's why
He's a street fighter. So basically, even Zelensky finally said, right, he's still using politeness and still using the social rules and education, that he's living in a world of
kind of make believe.
But
the term he used,
false narratives, a world of
false narrative.
a world of disinformation.
Yeah.
But that's still polite. In actual fact, right, he would have stunned the hell out of the man if he turned round to say to him, "You're just insane." That would have been that. The man would have gone so ballistic, right? But he would have actually helped people. It would have helped to his demise. But you see, the man's following the rules. You're not meant to call another person in that situation insane. So everybody's like the king's new clothes.
Yeah.
Right? Only the little child says, the king has got no clothes.
Yeah.
But he's a king. Of course he's got clothes, because he must have, because he's the king.
Right, this is why these podcasts are really good. Did I not call him criminally insane from the couple of...
a long time ago. You would have said that.
Right.
Yeah, but how come, why, when he's so abusive and so rude, why doesn't one of the people that he's abused turn around to him and say, look, you're insane?
Yeah, criminally insane.
And even that's not rude.
Yeah, and what's happening...
You'll say call him rude, but so what?
But I tell you what I see now, what's happening now. Keir Starmer now and Britain has actually... They've stepped away from him.
But politely.
They're beginning...
That doesn't work.
Well...
step away from him and say, look. What you'd say to a boy, right? What you do is you get enough people, right, to get together, right, to have the power of the bully, and then you say to the bully, fuck off, and he'll say, you going to talk about me? You want to fight now? And he goes, actually, what you didn't realise, in the meantime, I've got 30 of my mates
behind you.
But behind me, and I didn't think you would do that. Says, no, you're quite sneaky. He says, oh yes, you taught me how to do it. And then so now what are you going to say? And he goes, well, maybe I've made a mistake.
If I bring up these two characters,
Of course
Kim Jong-il from North Korea, also Putin. These are two people who don't play by...
No, they don't play by the rules.
That's why they're good friends with Trump.
Bullies. Yeah, they love him. Trump loves them.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's...
He doesn't call dictators dictators. He calls the victims of dictators dictators.
Yes.
Losers. What does he call Joe Biden? Call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
If Joe Biden had won the election, he would have respect for him. He wouldn't call him Sleepy Joe. He'd say, well, he's No.
He will say they've stole the election from me the second time again.
Yeah, it goes. Yes.
Right. And this time the insurrection, the 6th of January insurrection, is going to be twice.
Well, at the moment, I was looking on YouTube, and on President's Day, there's been huge demonstrations around America, and yet we never hear it on the news. We hear all this other nonsense, right? But we hear that, but we don't hear the really... These are spontaneous protests erupting around America because they're having their wages, their benefit, everything cut. People are really upset. A lot of people are losing their jobs in America. Working class people. And some of those people on those protests voted for Trump.
Did I not say to you, this is why I date these podcasts, didn't I say to you that after a very short while, they're going to realize, right, he ain't going to get better. They can't pay the bills. And I'll expand on that a little bit later on. America can't pay the bills.
No.
England can't pay their bills.
No.
France can't pay their bills. Germany is paying the bills. It's 62% of GDP, the debt. Spain can't pay the debt. And so who do they blame? If you take England, all the policing, the hospitals, the teaching, and that's why Ian...
Well, I've heard that Les Kendall wants to have £5 million welfare cuts, right? And the only argument is does it go towards paying the Chancellor's debts, right? Or does it go towards having more weapons for Europe?
Or Israel.
Or Israel. But it's completely wrong. The reason that Starmer got voted for, right, is because people didn't want any more cuts. They couldn't stand the 14 years of Toryism.
Graham, I've got news for you. It ain't going to get better, right? They still can't pay the bills. Do you know how much they actually... You see, this is what's been...
Well, it's because the rich are not being taxed. The rich are getting super rich. The oligarchs.
All right. Yes.
And the only look. Actually, in this Davos thing, can you imagine, right? After being abused and insulted by Elon Musk,
Yeah.
right? They went to Davos and said no, they don't. They might reduce some of their this flimsy tax on non-doms, right? Which includes Rishi Sunak and his wife, right? And they're going to reduce that. Just hang on a minute, even the tiny little bit, you're going to reduce that. So no wonder there's a crisis. Then non-doms have the money, right? People who benefit people don't have the money.
Have you heard what?
If 20 million, like, people on universal credit and sickness benefit and right are equal to 1 month's money of one tech millionaire.
Yeah.
1 month. So that's where you get the money from, the tech millionaires. But no, they want to give them less money. They want to pay the tech millionaires more.
Yeah.
It's a government, as Bernie Sanders says, it's a government of the billionaires, for the billionaires, by the billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, and the more money you give the billionaires, the more they abuse you. At the moment, a lot of the tech billionaires are trying to actually deliberately destroy the whole world's economy so that they can be more powerful. It sounds insane, right? It sounds like a conspiracy theory, right?
But it's happening.
But it's happening, and it's not a conspiracy theory like anti-vax or the Great Replacement theory or this kind of bullshit put out by some far right Joe Rogan podcasts and that and spread through or something like that. It's actually what we all know, because you ask even an ordinary working class patient who's quite bigoted and doesn't know very, reads the Sun, has very sort of right-wing sort of ideas and that. But if you ask them a simple question, are the rich getting richer? Yeah, the rich getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And then they'll carry on ranting about foreigners and people who don't want to work and people and the people down the road, women having children and transgender thing and all sorts of things. But they will all. This is not a conspiracy theory. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and that is the basis, right? That's not. You don't even have to read what Karl Marx said to understand it. That's the basis, right? And everything else is mud in the eye. You know, is a smokescreen to actually cover it up.
Is it the madness of King George, the madness of Trump? Now, let me tell you why he's clever.
King George, the monarch.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
The madness.
basically he's taken America back to the pre-revolutionary stage. Actually, he's pre-George Washington. That's the
You are talking about the most basic and innate instincts, and that's what probably. No, actually, they were clever then. Yeah, they were clever then. I mean, he's personally regressed. Well, anyway, back to the point about what makes him a little bit clever is this. You see all these tariffs, right? And all the sacking of postal work, all these
government workers.
Government workers.
Yes, it's called austerity. We had it in Britain under Osborne.
Shall I tell you?
But it's multiplied.
Shall I tell you why? The elephant, actually it's not an elephant, it's not even a white whale, it's a volcano. No, it's bigger than the volcano. No, it's an asteroid.
Asteroid.
And I heard Trump
or in Trump's or with Trump it's an hemorrhoid. Okay, carry on.
Right. So I've heard him mention it a couple of times, but very few people actually follow up on it. America's debt is 36 trillion, right?
Ooh.
Now it was sometime in January, I don't know whether you watch the news, where they had to stop Congress and they had to vote to extend the debt. Mountain. In fact, I think it's in March they're going to have to stop everything again, and all of them's got to vote, and it won't. They need 4 trillion a year to keep America running. So that 36 trillion is probably going to go up to 40 trillion at the end of the first year of Donald Trump reign. Now that is why Donald Trump is cutting this and cutting that.
And his first minister, Elon Musk, Trump Musk.
Right.
Now he's got a split personality.
Right.
He's got one part is called Trump, the other part is called Musk.
Right. And what Musk has done, they've gone around and they've sacked a lot of people, and then they found these were important people. Like one of.
Oh yes, they're busy looking around. They're trying to find the nuclear workers, the government nuclear workers that they fired.
Yeah. Because
they fired.
it's something to do with the current war thing, and they're up in the or to keep an eye on the enemy, that kind of thing. Yeah. But one of the reasons why is that $36 trillion, it's actually a black hole. It doesn't get talked about much. Every now and then, the American government stops and have to vote to actually extend it. It's gone past.
I think one of the reasons for all this hatred towards China, not that they're a wonderful system, right? But the real reason of being against them is because they're holding the debt.
Yeah.
They're holding the debt.
Yeah.
Right. And they might become the next superpower.
Yeah.
And it's like the British Empire gave way to the American Empire, and the Dutch Empire gave way to the British Empire, and the Portuguese Empire gave way to the etc., all the way back to the Roman Empire. Well, this change in the world order, right? It might be that the because of all the money that China owns from the American debt, and this might be the big smoke screen, all their anti-Chinese rhetoric.
All right, let me. Okay, you've just said there's a lot of spontaneous unrest and protests. Well, I don't know, but I have to. Protest.
America.
Right,
Yeah.
because
Say
of
not my president.
austerity and everything.
And authoritarianism, mixture of things.
And everything keeps on
Growing
rising
right.
in price. Now, I'll tell you what might be the Achilles heel before everything starts to collapse. Remember I sent you that? Now, he's ruling by executive orders, right? Which is just, we have the same here in government, right? But after a while, the normal democracy of the government, what you work with, they've got a way of getting rid of you. It's called impeachment, and it's already.
They're trying to do that in South Korea to the right-wing president who wanted to declare martial law.
Yeah.
So they're basically doing what they didn't do in the United States.
Well, that's going to come. Let me tell you.
That's funny, isn't it?
No,
they're
no.
more democratic.
Yes, touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here is where the Achilles heel is gonna start to crumble from here. This is my prediction. Right. Tariffs. Right now, if you buy this, go hold it.
Yes.
Right now, this is imported. Right.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
This is very important to you. You buy it every month, right? It could be food, it could be cars, it could be metal, it could be food. Right. I am the person, I'm a foreigner, I'm China. I'm China, I am Mexico, I am Canada, but you get this every month from me, right? And Donald Trump sees that you are paying so much, you're buying this so much, right, that it's got to stop. So he puts a tariff on me.
Yeah.
But you still want this. So I'm going to sell it to you. Go and grab it. Plus the 20% tariff. So who suffers?
I do. I do, yes.
Right? So when
Donald Trump is not like Kenneth Galbraith, the famous American economist, right? Who's, by the way, social democratic. I mean, he hasn't thought these things out. He doesn't know about economics. He doesn't know about psychology. He doesn't know about history. He doesn't know much about history. He doesn't know much about economy.
Actually, we're drifting a bit. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
But he does know how to rant his mouth.
All right. So on that point there, right? If you're gonna tax me, the product you buy, the reason why you buy it is because you want it, you need it. That's why there's so much of it being sold.
Yeah.
So if you tax it, you will still want that product.
I still want the product, yeah.
All right. So Donald Trump's answer is that he wants your friends to be making this product at home. How long does it take to build a factory?
Long time.
Right. What kind of wages would your mates, compared to me in China or me in India, right? The wages in India and China to make this in America, when it's made in America, what kind of wages would your friends want in comparison to the wages in India, China, etc.?
Oh, you want much higher wages.
So would that factory making these, let's say it does get...
No, American capitalists, right, will be are all around the world, and they're not going to go back to America because it's cheaper in Indonesia, it's cheaper in Colombia, and in Rwanda, Botswana. It's cheaper in Sudan. Well, then they won't go back, and they're not going to be made to go back because the attacks, right? It's not. It's if you think about it, Hitler wasn't against international finance capital. He used that rhetoric, right? It sounded good. It sounded socialist rhetoric. It almost sounded Marxist. He used international financial capital, right? When people were in a huge recession, right, in Germany, right? But then it became Jewish international finance capital. Then it became Jewish. So he attacked Jewish businesses and things like that, and made a photographs of it. Look at them; they're attacked, and turn them into like people who eat dogs and cats and monsters and what have you, and bring disease in. But the smoke screen. He didn't attack finance capital because finance capital gave him big money. One of the reasons that Germany was rich after the war is the big companies, Volkswagen and Krups Rheinmetall and what have you, these huge big companies actually got richer. And during the war, they had free labor, right? The Ostarbeiter, they had actually free labor, slave labor in 5 years. They actually made lots of. They actually made a profit. He is not against profit. Yes, he's not against profit, right? He's so basically, right? Like the capitalists behind Trump, not him himself, right? Because he's a mouthpiece for them. But the people, they actually are, they're allowing him to criticize foreign capital. That suddenly turns into the word foreign. And becomes poor foreigners who work on farms and work in hospitals and things like that, and might take a welfare check once in a while. Most of them don't, but they are. Gradually he promised the MAGA people, right, that finance capital would be the ruling class would be attacked, but he is the ruling class.
This is going to be cheaper, but because it comes in from abroad, it's going to be 20% more expensive.
Yes.
Right? But this is part of your staple diet. You get it once a month.
Exactly.
You can't live without this.
That's why he wanted to he wanted to make a corrupt deal, right, with Zelensky to say, look, if you want like weapons, we're going to give us your minerals.
Yeah.
And he's been doing this around the world with Greenland, Canada. Yeah.
But the
thing is, he's not pretending. He does it openly.
No, you see that? That's what's
he does it open. That's the big shock. He doesn't do it sneakily. He does it very openly.
Iraq, right, and in Africa, all of that was behind the scenes of slavery, and all of that was behind the scenes of the governments actually in Africa at the moment. Behind the scenes, the people who supplied them the guns, actually, the foreign people like De Beers and
De Beers, yes.
and the people
And
who,
Elon Musk's father, who owned the emerald mine. Yes, Elon Musk. That's it. This is an Afrikaner name, Musk. Yeah. Now, Elon Musk was brought up in South Africa with a very rich father, right? He owned an emerald mine, right? But listen, this is how patriotic he is. This is how the piece of patriot. When it came for him under the apartheid regime, his father was making lots of money, But it was time to do his military conscription for the White South African Defence Force, the South African SADF, right? He did a runner, maybe with the help of his dad, who knows? But he did a runner, and he went off and got a place in an American university somehow, and he's been there ever since, right? So this is his great genius that he's supposed to have. He actually, he had no loyalty to White South Africa, but he had the racism because it made him very rich, and it gave him all the opportunities he has, right? So now he claims that he starts at the bottom and all that stuff like that. But believe me, his father's very very well off. He might not be super well off, but he certainly, like Johnson's pretended he started off at the bottom, didn't he? Or he somehow gave people that sort of fuzzy idea that it could have happened. When in actual fact, he came from a very wealthy family.
all right. So what made the British Empire?
And so did Trump. Very wealthy family.
Yeah. So what made the British Empire? What was the
So did Osborne.
Okay, yeah. So what made Britain? Sorry, yeah.
And Bush, the Bush family, very rich.
What made the British Empire the British? What was the technique they used when they went around the world?
Well, the Trump's talking about that kind of economics is called mercantilism, right? And all the empires, Spanish Empire, the Portuguese Empire, they used mercantilism. What they did is it was a kind of banditry, right? And they imposed tariffs, It wasn't free trade at that time. Adam Smith wrote his book about free trade, right? And because Britain had actually had so many slaves and was so wealthy and became so wealthy so quickly with their mercantile trade, that they were actually able to move on to the next stage of capitalism, which was free trade, and they claimed free trade. But in actual fact, it's This is how it started out.
All right, you intellectualizing how the empire. Basically, it's simple as this: they went around the world. They saw that. I love that, mate. And by the way, we'll have you as slaves.
Yes,
right?
It's simple.
And they had, what do you call it? Governors, overseers.
Overseers, yeah.
Right. That's why people's upset about all these houses of the wealthy and statues that's put up.
The slave owners, like the one that was taken into the river in Bristol. I forgot the name.
But not only that, people like they went on pillage and plunder and stuck a flag on.
Well, the East India Company under Clive of India, there's a big theft, right?
Say it loud, say it proud. No, say it loud and.
Cecil Rhodes, the West Africa Company, or the Africa Company, right? Another group of thieves, and then
thieves.
Yeah,
they went, they saw it, they nicked it.
Well, we can talk. Well,
actually, they came with their army and they said, yeah.
They're armed thieves. But yes.
So what's the difference with Donald Trump today? Donald Trump says, "Give me your minerals."
Yes.
But there is a deal. Actually, there is a deal there. He says that the weapons, the money that the weapons cost us, that we gave you to fire against Putin, it cost. So we want some minerals for the thing, right? But funny enough, he said that Europe has actually only loaned Kiev, Ukraine, the money. They have to pay it back. because wars are expensive. And if we go over to Israel now, all these bombs and guns and tanks and what have you, it's got to be paid for.
Yeah.
And who's the supplier of the missiles for this Iron Dome they got? America. And I'm sure, right?
Yeah, but weapons makes the biggest profit, I think, maybe oil. I don't know. Oil's all a weapon, not sure. But one of them makes the biggest profit because all bullets have to be used. So really, the weapons capitalists, you know, the what do you call it, the military industrial complex, the wealthy that sell the weapons.
Once more.
One war, they make a huge profit, and they're in competition with the other capitalists.
And so,
They're
if you had money, you know where you invested.
There are agricultural capitalists, there are industrial capitalists, and they're competing with each other. The weapons capitalists, right, can work together with all the other capitalists, right, that's stealing, but basically their interest is to sell their weapons because it makes huge capital. So their interests don't always coincide.
Yeah,
The different sorts of capitalists, often there's an incongruence between what they're competing about.
The Gaza thing. The biggest protest I heard was it last weekend or the weekend?
Last weekend,
Not a word in
no,
you know,
no.
like what's happening in America. I'll go to search for that.
Well, it makes
Which
it,
hasn't
the
come up on
person who's completely disappeared from the person who disappeared.
Mr. Brexit.
No. The person who disappeared, right? Jeremy Corbyn was the person I actually saw on the early anti-Trump marches. During Trump's first time, right? He was there, and he's been solidly there, and all the Palestinian things and everything like that, right? He has been put out of the picture.
All right. Anyway,
He's been,
how so? Expand. When you say who's done it, who put him out of the picture? How's it?
Well, because he knew what was going on a long time ago. He's been put out of the picture.
Yeah.
Now that they're pretending, this the Social Democrats and the Liberals and the sort of moderate Conservatives are pretending to be very shocked at Trump's sort of brutalism and roughness and rudeness and gangsterism. But the person who's consistently against him, the person who never bowed to him and called him great and called him wonderful. The person who never said he was marvelous, and who's never said that he's changed his mind about him, is kept quiet about.
Wow.
But I noticed, talking about Farage, I've noticed he's keeping very quiet now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Because it's very funny. No, he was pumped up. Now he doesn't know what to do.
The tide over here is starting here. The tide over here is turning against Trump, because what he's done, he's actually begun to separate. So he's
Europe. Well, because logically, Britain is in Europe.
And Britain, I think there's a conference today.
Look, many of them, the other American leaders had a little bit of education, right? A big university or something, and they thought, and they knew about all the American Civil War against Britain and what have you. But they also knew where Europe was, and what they did is they thought of. They had an idea about Britain, Europe, history, you know how it worked. So they thought, right, divide and rule. Let's hive Britain off from Europe. So it's a special relationship, right?
Oh yeah.
And then what have you, and Eisenhower and Woodrow Wilson, the First World War, and all these special. But he doesn't know that. He learned about history and map making and what have you. He's got a fantasy about somewhere in Scotland where his mother
ancestry,
lived, and maybe I don't know. He doesn't even he doesn't even seem to know much about Germany, where his father came from. But he has some idea, some about maybe being Anglo-Saxon. To do with the skin colour and what have you, some strange sort of simplistic idea. You know, Tommy Robinson type of idea about skin, you know, the connections and that. But, you know, I know simplistic, I can't work it out. It's just, but he doesn't really, but actually, you know, when he gets angry, he sees Britain as part of Europe.
Yeah, so
because he's angry, because he said there's a beautiful amount of water between us and Ukraine, but actually that means Britain and America as well.
Remember that lesson you said?
It's a beautiful big bit of water. It's called the Atlantic.
Remember that lesson you said you learned from your father, which was anti. Oh, they call it antisocial now.
Antisocial, anti-civilized. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, you don't train with some boxing gloves and hit above the belt. Right? What you do, and you train, right, with strategy on how to do it, but with the Marquis who seems to be rules. What you do is you pretend to be nice to somebody, get them off balance, right, and then hit them with some coins. Which are very cheap, have in your pocket.
No, it wasn't Donald Trump that did it. It was Elon Musk that had to go at Farage. Suddenly, Trump's turned against everybody. He's turned against Canada, Mexico, even Zelensky, who thought he had a friend. All of a sudden, he's just...
No, he never really liked Ukraine because remember when he was against Biden for in the Sun,
and he wanted them to get information on him.
He wanted information on
right,
him, yeah.
That was the deal.
So
and he didn't get
it's
it.
personal.
Yeah.
Everything's very personal with him, like a big kid. He wants to be told, right, that he's wonderful, and anyone who doesn't tell him he's not wonderful, he's going to teach them a lesson.
Yes.
His politics is personal vindictiveness. In fact, it's not politics, it's more personal vindictiveness. And so the last time we saw this kind of personal vindictiveness was in the feudal times of when there was monarchs and kings and that who felt slighted, and then they created massacres because of their being slighted. They didn't like what this other king said, and then they killed their whole family off.
All right, okay, let's move towards conclude. Now, April the 1st is coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is going up in price.
Yeah.
In your personal life. Anyway, my personal life,
everything's going up.
Right. And including in America as well.
Especially food inflation, more than anything else, which is the most painful thing. Food inflation is the killer.
So how long you reckon...
You can't save on food. You can't save on it.
All right. So there's already sporadic, but the people who are protesting in America was always against Trump. I mean,
they're the people who are against Trump, but they're beginning to be joined by people who are disillusioned.
Yeah.
They're not the anti-Trumpers. They're the people who didn't really know. They were just angry. The people who were angry at inflation, but they were non-political.
Yeah.
But they thought, well, let's give Trump a chance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like that went for Brexit in Britain. They went for Leave and Farage and all. They went for them because they said, let's give them a chance. Now they're disappointed. There are lots of people who don't know what they're voting for.
I have to believe you.
And they're just feeling angry. The incumbent, the person who's there, is the person that annoys them.
Yeah.
I don't like him. And I tell you, I don't even like that Jeremy Corbyn because he's got a house and he's not. His father wasn't a bricklayer. No, he's just so clever. And it's like, okay, so you're against. So who else are you against? Well, I don't like trade unions because the trade union bosses, they get lots of, perks, and some of them have a car. And I don't like them, and they go on it. Who do you like? I don't like anybody really. That's the trouble. They're all against me.
you know.
See, yeah.
So come April, I give it a month, 2 months of this.
I do like Mohammed, my doctor though, because he gave me this kidney transplant, and I like him. But he's the only one of them that I like. I don't like the rest of them, but he's okay, you see, because I actually know him, and he was quite nice, you know. And I won't have a word said against him, because he was, you know, he's my doctor. But the rest of them, I don't like him. Well, I don't know why. I mean, they haven't done me any harm, but I just don't like them.
I forget to ask you about it. Germany has the election next week.
Yep.
What do you see?
I see the Conservatives doing well and the AfD coming second. But then they might split.
Did you see what Elon was it? No, it was
Elon Musk wants.
No, it was no. I think it was Elon Musk and the deputy America number 2 went over to Germany, and he didn't speak to the chancellor. He spoke to
AfD, yeah, Musk spoke to the AfD, yeah.
It was Musk.
Yeah. He's taken over from Steve Bannon, but he's more powerful.
Yeah, loads more money.
He's much richer. Yeah, Steve Bannon is you know, like you got flying pickets. He's the fascist flying picket.
Have you heard about the problem in Spain where the locals are they can't afford local housing because outsiders are buying it up and B&B, what do you call it? They can't afford it, so they're literally protesting and stuff. But Spain has a problem. It has a big debt. It's got a big debt problem. All right, so
yeah, I mean it is dangerous because Europe could move to the right. Then they're in big trouble. They could move to the right at the moment.
All right, so if they do move to the right, what will happen? What can you say? How does it?
Well, we'll be stepping closer to world fascism.
There's something you said.
You know, I mean, if you know, fascist America, fascist Europe, where do we go? Where will the democracy be?
There's something you
South
said.
Africa?
Yeah, there's something you said a couple of
They
podcasts
haven't
ago
got power.
about Germany and during the rise with Hitler there, and it was something about people, the unemployed, being drafted into the army, and I could see that happening here. Also, I heard the minister say that they're going to take away the age limit, right? So from 80 to 8 years old, if you want to, you know, because they really...
I don't understand what you're talking about.
They're gearing up for war. Because they think Putin, remember, they're going to increase their budget. Everyone's going, increase their budget, their war budget.
Yeah, no, listen, isn't this illogical? If the war comes to an end, right, they won't have any reason to increase military spending, because when the Soviet Union came to an end, they had something called a peace dividend. They were allowed to spend less money on the military and have more money to spend on infrastructure and hospitals and schools.
Yeah, do you believe that shit? Listen, I'll tell you what happens now, right? Europe and England and the West, and especially, is it Sweden? Anyway, they're so shaken up, right? They're so shaken up by Putin. They know after a short while, a short rest, he'll be on the move. Actually, nobody knows. Everyone's trying, right? But
don't know.
But in order, what was it? You got to prepare for war in order to preserve the peace.
No, we're told that look, these are cliches. These are just cliches. They're their cliches. They say that. Look, it's not our war. These aren't our wars. That's the reason why a lot of people voted for Trump, because they thought he was going to stop the war, because it's not our war. But the trouble is, right, they don't realise that wars, right, is not a punch up down the road by two people that don't like each other. It's a deliberate theft of land to gain for the raw materials, the agricultural things like that. It's actually a calculated thing. War.
That's how it used to be. But what Trump says, he says
it still is.
Yeah, so Trump says the Gaza Strip is going to be a holiday resort, and all the people can move out.
Well, he's basically saying that because for the Zionists and Netanyahu. He's saying that as right-wing propaganda.
All right,
It's basically he wants to help Netanyahu.
Yeah. Now he said it up front. He talk about mineral rights.
He said it up front.
Right, but what
He's also insane.
What you said about war and the spoils of war and the land grab and whatever. Yes, that's why you got to war.
We know
Yeah.
that's going to cause a war all around the Middle East, and even right-wing, pro-Western, right-wing Arab governments will explode. Jordan will explode. Egypt will explode. God knows, Libya. No, this isn't this. Even Saudi Arabia might explode. It's really ridiculous. They're playing with fire.
How comes you so catastrophic? I was the one that was saying apocalyptics a couple of.
No, it's not catastrophic. Look, there was a revolution in Egypt a while ago. A pro-Western military dictator took over, and Sisi's there. Sisi does not want. Sisi is very pro-Trump, right? But he's not really, doesn't like his madness, because he doesn't want to pick up the mess that Trump wants to leave. His toys, he doesn't want to pack his toys away.
And what do you think is going to happen?
Trump doesn't care if Sisi falls. Trump doesn't care about that.
What about Syria? What's brewing in Syria? What do you think is going to happen there?
I think they're just keeping quiet because they've had enough war. They're just staying quiet, and in the hope that they'll get some help reconstructing, which I don't think they will, because by being quiet they've been forgotten about. But that's what they've had to do.
And what do you reckon is going to happen with Gaza, the Palestinians?
I just don't know. There's so many insane people, right? Netanyahu, Trump, God, there's so. I think the reconstruction will happen with money from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE and that. Although they don't like to do it, they're going to have to put their hand in their pocket and do it, right? Because they don't want to upset their own people.
All right, let me finish on this subject. Remember
they're going to have to reconstruct the place, but with our rich Arab countries' money.
All right, let me.
I don't know what they're going to do about the problem. It's very strange. I think Trump's rhetoric is so mad that he's set a problem up now. Netanyahu and Trump. A logical solution will be to reconstruct the place and have a two-state solution, right?
Well, who's following logic? Yeah, I know.
No. What you're saying is scary. Who's following logic? You said it. Who's following logic? I don't know. That's the bit that's unknown, and I can't. Like I say, yeah, I can try to unlearn, but I can't really unlearn because I've learned. If I was like Romulus, if you got me and I was like Romulus and Remus, if I was brought up by a wolf, right?
Yeah.
Then
you could only think in wolf.
I wouldn't think like a wolf.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't say I was unlearning because I hadn't learned. So Trump is basically the joker in the pack. But when you have an insane leader like what was it? Who fiddled while Rome burned?
Oh yeah, gone. Yeah.
Caligula.
Gone. Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah, he was insane. And when you have an insane person in power, it doesn't make any sense.
I give it with Trump. I'll give it no longer than a year. I'll give it until summertime, around July, when the cookie is going to start to crumble.
Of course, it's obvious. It's obvious that he cannot do what he wants to do. Most of the things he said he wants to do contradict each other. He wants a stronger economy. But a stronger economy means to have more foreign labour, like cheap foreign labour. Like, look what's happened with Brexit. Foreign labour is going to, in having more foreign labour, right, giving asylum seekers visas and letting them work on the land or work in social care will actually boost the economy. This is economics. It's not Marxist, it's capitalist economics. It's
All right.
economics. It's capitalist.
All right.
And in America, getting rid of farm labourers means that agricultural product goes through the roof, farmers, right, go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like they did in the 30s.
All right. Now that's a thinking man's
Yeah,
view, right?
and also tariff barriers means inflation goes up, and that the man is not the man is a lunatic. He's not an economist. He's a lunatic. Even right-wing economists have some logic because that's what they.
All right. So
They studied.
where the crack in the dam is going to start is when the people themselves realize it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. And as you said,
No.
they've been told by the more smarter people that it ain't going to work. Doesn't
Remember,
matter.
during the huge pandemic, the worldwide pandemic, Trump was telling people to drink bleach. He didn't do it. He secretly had a thing himself,
Yeah.
right? Right? Which is a little bit of sanity. It was strange, a little bit of sanity. But the fact that he even said to do it
Yeah.
during that time of worldwide disaster
Yeah.
was really anti-science.
Yeah.
Anti-science is madness. To be anti-science is madness. The moon is not made of cheese, right? The earth is not flat.
But with what you just described, it made it appear that he was anti-science. But if he went and got the jab,
Yeah, the fact even that he said it. Gee, he actually says, I don't care whether the people who follow me die. A lot of elderly people in Florida in care homes, right? It's a care home centre for America, right? They're the strongest Trump people because they want to live in the old days. You know, like the Brexiteers, like like UKIP type. They want to go back to the good old days when men were men and women were women and everyone's heterosexual and there was no mixed marriage. They want to go back to that. But he actually said to them, don't take vaccines, right, and would allow them to die. Well, this is fucking awful. This is criminally insane.
thank you. Thank you, Professor. You've now worked your way around to my conclusion. Oh yeah, the one more subject I wanted you to get to, right?
And it's not just because they're elderly Trump worshippers. It's because they're bloody human beings.
All right, it took you a few months for you to get around to where I'm at.
Yes.
Right? But anyway, do you remember when I said, you remember the riots we had in August with the far right and the
In August.
and the refugees and stuff, and they said it was because of rumors.
Rumors.
But I said, even if the rumors were right, you still haven't got a right to go burn down, mash up people's places, burn police vans, right? And it happens that those rumors were right.
And it was Elon Musk that was spreading them. Listen, shall I tell you what? Elon Musk is such a monster. The last thing, this is unbelievable, right? He's been, oh God, what was his last thing he's been saying? He's been saying, right, he's been showing pictures, right, of German migrants in Germany,
Okay.
asylum seekers, right, who are smashing up a hospital,
Okay.
right? And he's been putting that on X. This is fucking scary. This is fascism and insanity. This is even more insane than Trump, which is strange to say, but or at least equal. The man has put on his X, right, this complete fascist lie about Germany. So before the election, right, the asylum seekers somewhere in Germany, didn't say where, smashing up and saying how terrible that is. You don't want that to happen. We must stop this. Now, right, then this was Times Radio. They checked out where it came from. It came from like a Batman, the Dark Invader, right? The Dark Invader. It came from a film. It was ideas from a film which he'd seen because he likes films, especially, but he likes Batman and stuff. So he likes these superhero films because he sees himself like a big baby. Sees himself as a superhero. He can see it. He thinks of himself as a superhero. So he watches these superhero films, but he's tweeting this in this fascist way to actually incite racial hatred, right? And push the election over. This is the poison, dangerous world we're in. It's a complete lie. Where do we? It should be on the front page. It should be on the front page of every newspaper around the world. It should be on the front page.
But meanwhile, to those
X,
followers,
lots of people look at X.
I know.
Even the people that don't like it might look at it and wonder.
Yeah.
They think, I don't like that, but it's gone into their heads.
Yeah. Once they see it enough times, then
Yes, and in Mein Kampf, right, Hitler said the way to capture people is not to sell small lies, they don't work, but to tell big lies.
Right. Look, until the next big lie moment next week around the same time, it's good night from him.
And good night from
Me.
me, I suppose.
All right.